Okay, it being 5:30, I'll call to order the September 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Town of Shelburne. The first item on our agenda is the acceptance of minutes from our September 8th meeting. Uh, I've reviewed them, found no errors that impacted the intent of the content. Any other comments to weigh in? Andrew?
Yeah, I was just a little confused because I thought we had voted on not accepting the change order amendment, and I didn't see that in the minutes.
Without having the minutes in front of me,
The
I
the, the
can't
minutes
verify that.
the minutes of September 8th read that we we accepted the Agawam contractor's bid and made some adjustments around the trees and the shrubs and stuff, but it didn't mention anything about the change order, which we discussed and rejected. And then the contractor resigned, either before or after that. I can't remember which. But,
I mean, it is in old business in the September 8th minutes. There may not be a vote, but there was discussion about, it says a motion was made by Andrew to amend the change order to remove the 10 trees, remove the shrubs, and use a wheelchair-friendly product.
oh,
That
is that what we decided? Because,
Yes.
was
okay, and then the contractor felt like that was a rejection of the change order.
No, he said, well, if if you don't like the way I asked for it, tough, I'm out, basically.
Right, that's what I mean, is we
Basically.
didn't accept his $5,000 of special gravel and
Correct.
whatever.
Correct.
Correct. So
Yeah.
we modified his proposal, but we didn't vote to reject it. He was the one,
Okay.
he was the one that rejected it.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to try to reconstruct that sequence because I guess it resulted in the change order not going forward, but by a
Right.
circuitous path.
But that was
Okay.
following our meeting. Yeah, it was a day or so after.
Okay. Okay. Good. Then
I think
that's
it's
fine. There were some nitpicky things in there about organic gravel that I didn't. I thought maybe Faith was listening to an AI recording or something, but
No,
um,
that I believe is what the contractor quoted.
right.
organic gravel.
Yes.
Well, he was using the specs that the Bridge of Flowers group had used. So
Okay.
And
he
that's what
was using like product.
the Bridge of Flowers folks termed theirs as organic. Uh,
Oh, okay. All right. I never heard of organic gravel, but
Neither had I, but I
okay.
do remember that discussion.
All right, good. I'm good with the minutes. I just wanted to catch up there.
Then Rod, any comments?
No comments.
We have a motion
Move to accept.
Second.
to accept and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Andrew,
Aye.
Rod,
Aye.
I am I. Motion passes 3-0-0. Liaison reports. Rod, any from you this evening?
Just that Joe is back from his little vacation,
That's right.
and guess he was celebrating his anniversary and went up to Maine with Linda. That's about all I have.
Okay. Andrew?
Jeff and I agreed that he would do the liaison update because he's right here and he's next on the agenda.
Yeah. So last couple of weeks been kind of busy. We assisted our tree warded in some tree removal and cleanups on Wilson Graves Road and over on Fisk Mill Road, just to extend his budget further and to speed up the process and get more bang for the buck. We added about another $2,100 in road patch over on Smead Hill, and Hawks Road. We patched up, and that consumed just about everything. Still having some water issues over on Fisk Mill Road, which eventually is going to lead to an ultimatum of what I'm going to provide for the issue and what they want. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. Any other from you, Andrew?
No, just updates that the theater project phase 2 is almost complete. There's a few small um, final jobs that both Renaissance builders are coming back to do. They've ordered the crash bar hardware for the upstairs doors, which are code required. Um, they'll be coming back to install those, do a little bit of touch-up painting on the risers in the downstairs hallway. The Highland seating people are coming back this Friday to put the lettering on the chairs in the balcony, and and then just as a heads up for going forward, Terry's going to give us sort of the wrap up when she gets all the invoices in from everybody, um, and we will see what the difference is in terms of the remaining match money left in the matching grant. My estimate is it's in the neighborhood of about $25,000. So we will consult with the Memorial Hall Association and and with Joe Matty and bring forward some proposals for spending out that money. We have a fair amount of time to do that until next June, I think. Um, so that's not a problem. But we're looking at purchasing the movable chairs that go in the front 2 rows, and looking at some possible work we might start in on the green room, which was also mentioned in our proposal to the Cultural Council. So we have to pick kind of eligible activities that go with what their matching grant was. Um, so that's kind of where we are with the theater project.
Okay. Terry, anything to share with us from your viewpoint?
Nothing this week. Thank you.
Right. Um, my police services advisory committee is now finally making an attempt to get a meeting scheduled. I think it's May since our last one. We tried to get one in June with no quorum. So we're working hard because there is a project with the renewal of the intermunicipal agreement with us that needs to be reviewed, altered, submitted to the 2 select boards by December, I believe. So I've been keeping the pressure on to try and get a meeting scheduled, and hopefully the first or second week in October we'll have that. From the police department, the new position of administrative assistant to the chief has been filled. The new hire will start September 29th. It's Rebecca Wells Robinson of Conway. The uninterrupted power unit at the police station has failed. A $1,355 unexpected replacement expense is in the works to correct that issue. Just one of those things you can't see coming sometimes.
What kind of power unit was that?
This is the power unit that backs up the computers, the phones, the alarms. So if the power blinks, instead of shutting everything down, this is the uninterrupted power source that kicks over and keeps everything stable
I see.
so that they don't go out. I don't know how old the other one is, but obviously it's given up the ghost, as they say, and our IT people are going to swap that out. Franklin Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board, we met last Thursday, the 18th. At our previous meeting, we had voted to suspend fares on the bus routes. You may recall that it was more expensive to collect fares, do the accounting for them, do the banking than it was to not do them. And the funds were made available. Well, now that uh, at this last meeting, we took a vote and suspended fares for the demand response through June of 2026 for people aged 60 and up. So we had left that one a minor fee. I forget what it was, but it was a minor fee for folks 60 and up for demand response. So that we got a grant to cover. We voted to increase the authority's share of employees' health insurance from 75% to 80% through June of next year. That'll help the staff absorb the multiple increases that they and municipalities like us are enduring. The net was like $3,000 to cover that. And there's only 4 of the 9 administrative employees in the program. So it was pretty easy to cover. And lastly, for that group, it was announced that we'd received another state grant of $400,000 to continue providing weekend service through this fiscal year. The weekend service hadn't existed until I think it was spring that we started it, kind of on a test routes to see what the support was. The support was good. It's still being analyzed as to where the routes will be kept on weekends and how frequent and so on. But at least we know that that program can continue through the remainder of the fiscal year. State Department of Conservation and Recreation. You recall that there was a notice about a meeting. We mentioned it briefly in one of our meetings, but last Tuesday, the 16th, their representative from the Flood Hazard Management Program held a required monitoring visit with Shelburne representatives to discuss the National Flood Insurance Program. Shelburne joined that program in 1980, and the last monitoring visit we had was in 2008. So we were a little overdue based on their scheduling. FEMA is updating the flood maps for all towns. Shelburne actually has only 9 folks that have chosen to have policies for this federally subsidized program in town, but they couldn't do it without our participation and being up to snuff on having that monitoring session. So representatives from our Highway Department, Conservation Commission, Emergency Management, Terry and myself attended that. So another one in the book taken care of. And that's all I have. We've got some time before our appointment for Jeff, but I see no reason, there's no hearing or anything, why we can't jump right into that and go on to Jeff's business. The first item I think you were looking for was discussion of the punch clock at the Highway Department.
Yeah. So I think I brought it up briefly last fall, maybe it was early spring. And all in all, I'm good at gauging honesty. I'm a very honest person myself. And one, I know why the punch clock was put in place. I don't see this group of guys in that position to where they're going to abuse any time. One being my presence is there. I'm there quite often. And the overall group of guys, they keep each other in line. Another reason I believe, in my opinion, that it should go is it just gives them guys more, I guess, belief that you trust them. And I mean, that's always a good thing. Currently, I believe Mark was getting the time cards through Staples, and I know you can get them through elsewhere, but we already buy recycled paper, and that one sheet of paper carries 2 weeks worth of, your schedule, your biweekly schedule, as opposed to two separate time cards. I feel it's not needed with, myself policing everyone's time. Since I've been there, everyone is very punctual. They're there all the time, on time, and they even stay late when asked or not even asked to do salt. I don't feel it's necessary. We are the only department that has it. Um, I guess that's my argument.
Okay. Rod, Andrew, any comments? Thoughts? Rod?
No, I don't. I kind of agree with everything that Jeff has mentioned.
Andrew?
Um, is this the is the finance committee going to weigh in on this? I'm just
Just want
curious.
you to know they're having difficulty with audio. They're working on it.
We just got the audio, but we missed, I don't know how much of what Jeff said. So I guess we don't even know what his reasoning is at this point, but
You want him to go back over it? Can you hear him now?
we can now.
We can now, yes.
Okay.
Sure. So it was, this topic was about removing the time clock, or the punch clock. I know the reason why the punch clock was established, since I've been there. So it's been, what, a year, 2 months, give or take. And these guys they're punctual. They're there before the start of their shift. They're there right to the end of their shift. And I know that stems from that punch clock being there. But the honesty level in all these folks that work for us is there, and they're not dishonest people. I believe, one being we already buy recycled paper for our printer, by law, and we're buying time cards too, as well. And them time cards are running out, where the recycled paper, you get your biweekly pay period on one sheet of paper, and your punch clocks are two different stubs. I just feel it'll make the guys or the employees feel like, they're actually being trusted as opposed to, well, they don't trust us. Now we got to punch in all the time, and we're the only department that has it.
So Finance Committee, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, what you had missed. I don't know if you heard Rod's comment that he agreed with what Jeff had to say, and Andrew was looking for your input. I'll give you my 2 cents. I think that they being the only department that we have that has hourly employees punching in and out, I think we can trust personally Jeff's supervision and judgment of his staff to eliminate the clock myself. Signing warrants every other week. We get handwritten time cards from our part-time employees and others. So I don't see any reason for that to continue with the highway department myself. So, Finance Committee, did you care to have a comment on it?
I have a question. Why would the highway department be the only department in town that's using them? I would think it would be, you would want a policy across the board, not this department does this and this one does that. Just curious why they do it if nobody else does.
I think Terry might be able to refresh us on the history of this. My understanding is that the time cards were instituted prior to my arrival on the select board. That was 10 years ago. So it was before that time. And there was some misuse of time reporting, that this was a specific intervention that was approved by the select board at that time. So it was not instituted as an across the board policy, and has just continued in that fashion. Terry, do you have any other light info on the history of this?
The time cards were put in place after a specific incident that involved all but one employee in the highway department at the time.
Okay, but we're not having those issues currently, correct?
No.
No? Okay.
So when we do have an issue in the future, what are we gonna do? Reinstitute time cards?
Yeah, because to me, it almost seems like if you have the policy, it's town-wide, not department specific. It's almost discriminatory to, you gotta give it to everybody or nobody type thing. My opinion, you guys can make a call on that, but that's how, I know I just think it would make more sense. You do it for all, or you do it for nobody.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Terry, could you give us a quick overview how the time reporting works for the highway department now with the punch clock? Do they fill out timesheets in addition to the punch clock? Are the timesheets, the punch cards in place of timesheets or what?
They submit time cards and then our treasurer creates timesheets. I believe, Jeff, that I'm correct. Our treasurer creates timesheets using the data from those cards.
So how would that work going forward without the cards? Do we have the employee filling out the timesheet?
Yes.
That's the way it works with the police department and other full-time department. And then that's signed off on by the department head. In the case of the police, the chief. In case of highway, it would be Jeff before they get to the select board.
Just from my experience, both as an employee filling out a timesheet and as a manager of employees who do fill out timesheets, getting your employees to fill out a timesheet in a timely fashion is real challenging. Real challenging. I think it would be much easier to punch a clock than it is to fill out a timesheet.
It's done on a daily basis.
Pardon?
It'll be filled out daily.
You hope.
Supposed to be.
You hope. That will last.
No, it's not a hope. That's what's going to happen.
That will last about 2 weeks.
No.
Believe me, I've managed employees, and this is what happens.
I'll second Jim on that. I'm not I don't know.
The time clock is a lot easier than doing a timesheet. Time clock, when you get in the morning, you click it, you're done. When you leave in the afternoon, you click it, you're done. If you've got a timesheet, you've got to keep track of that timesheet. I forgot to fill it out before I left. I took vacation on Friday. I didn't get my timesheet filled out, so I couldn't turn it in. Because the stories go on and on. You may be trading one, and I don't consider punching a time clock as being something trying to keep someone honest. No, it's a convenience thing. I'd much rather punch a time clock than fill out a timesheet.
To implement it on one department only is a kind of a kick, but I mean, I've done this in this field for 11 years now, but prior to this, I was a supervisor for 15 years managing many employees. So, I mean, it does boost the employee by not having that. I mean, they still miss a punch and they have to initial and, say they missed a punch. I mean, they're an honest group. And I don't even think it's actually policy. I think it was just voted in as highway department at one point, and the reason being someone wasn't doing what they were supposed to. Because I'm the one.
I just feel you're trading something which is convenient for something that you're going to wish you never brought up. But if that's what you thought, go right ahead.
Well, if it's not policy and we say, okay, tonight that he can stop, we can say 2 weeks, a month, 2 months from now, okay, you can put it back in.
Don't throw that time clock out.
Yeah, I say the same thing, like, you can pull it, and if it has to go back, you would, but the timesheets there's like multiple checks here anyway, right? So you're gonna have the employee, you're gonna have the supervisor, you're gonna have the treasurer, and then you're gonna have the select board, right?
Correct.
most of it'll fall on Jeff because he actually knows what they did and when they came and when they left. But I don't care if we have a time clock or not. I can speak for someone who has done payroll for a lot of years, chasing people for timesheets. It'll be the same person all the time. It's just the nature of the beast. But I also feel like if you're going to do time clocks, you need to do it town-wide. You can't single out a department. I just think that's asking for trouble at some point. And it seems to be, you gotta have a policy and stick with it. That's just my 2 cents. You guys do whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Finance Committee, for your input. Andrew, one final thought?
Yeah, I have a couple of final thoughts. One is I appreciate the input of the Finance Committee and share your concerns to some extent. Having being a current employee who both signs other people's, has to approve other people's timesheets as well as submit my own on a weekly basis. At the community college where I work, there are 2 policies that might be helpful in our case to consider going forward. One is that there is a consequence for employees or anybody slacking off on submitting or approving timesheets, and that is that you don't get paid that week. Um, so there is a timeline that you actually have to follow if you want to get a paycheck. And I believe we do that as well here. So I don't expect we're going to get a huge, backslide in the timeliness question. And that will ultimately be up to Jeff. The other thought that I would throw into the hopper that we might consider if it's cost effective is that I currently submit my timesheets electronically. So there is that software available, and it could help with both timeliness and efficiency and paper and all the rest of it. So that's another possible thing we might look to going forward. Hang on, I got one more thought. And um, and lastly, I would say that while I appreciate that there was a serious infraction that led to this policy, the board that instituted it probably should have put that in place across the board as a policy, and we have been kind of remiss in letting it drift forward in the form that it was instituted. So I have a lot of confidence in Jeff as a supervisor, and I think he's really done a great job, and his crew has done well. Both in hiring and bringing forward and training the crew that he has. So I feel like we are at a point where we could um, let go of the punch clock and see how we do. And as Rick said, if we need to put it back in place, we can always do that, but we should probably do it in a more policy mindful fashion. So those are my sense on that. But I think there is a thought from the finance committee there still.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my only thought was when you said, Andrew, about them submitting it electronically. We talked about that and got a lot of pushback from our employees because they were going to need to use their cell phones, and it just turned into we just said, oh, the heck with that. You know what I mean? It just didn't seem to be worth the extra. I would just go with yep, we're punching it, or no, we're not. And if Jeff sees things going awry, he just needs to tackle it right off and nip it in the bud.
Mhm.
But I do really think that regardless of what you guys decide, you need a policy, a solid one, and stick to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have one department doing one thing and everybody else doing another thing. That just isn't
Yeah.
gonna be a thing.
Well, I think yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying about the electronic system. I think my only suggestion in that regard is as long as each department supervisor has a computer, then I think you have the possibility of everybody being able to submit their time without having to use their phones. But
Okay, do
that's for another day and farther down the road if we want to go in that direction.
do we have a motion on the suspension of the use of the punch clock or no?
So moved.
It has been moved
Second.
and seconded to suspend the use of the punch clock for the highway department. Any further discussion? Hearing,
Should we put it in there that we may review it if we find a problem?
Sure, I think that's a helpful addition to the motion. But I think it's kind of implicit, but I don't mind making it explicit.
suspended until further notice. Something to that effect. Terry will take care of it. So your motion has been friendly amended. You're good with that? We've had a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Rod?
Aye.
I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Jeff, your second item, that being just your overtime policy.
So I know, our surrounding towns, each town has their different policy. Excuse me. I know Heath is different than Shelburne. I know Coleraine was just like Shelburne, and then I believe they just changed over their policy. I'm not asking for overtime after 8. That's not what I'm asking for. The purpose of this item is because last year there was individuals that became sick and or had doctor's appointments or family emergencies where overtime was worked, but they with approval, a couple of times from the board, they were able to get paid for it. I just want to eliminate that step. And I would like to be able to determine if they are allowed that overtime or if they just go to straight pay. I know overtime after 8 is a lot, and I don't expect that. I just want some wiggle room so that way if they are sick, I mean, one of them missed a doctor's appointment because of that. He was more worried about the overtime hours, the money than his doctor's appointment, and I just don't think that's necessary.
So basically, you're looking for confirmation that department heads, including yourself, can use their discretion to pay employees their overtime rate when legitimate out sick, doctor appointments, legitimate emergencies out of their control happen.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, winters aren't like they used to be. We all know that. I mean, we're not getting, 18-inch snowstorms every other day. Usually it's rare to see 18-inch snowstorms at all during the winter now. But I just know that if you work long enough, you get tired and worn down, and that's when you get sick. And then when you come to work sick, like we were last year, just because we're just that stubborn, I don't think they should be able to take a rest day.
Any comments from my fellow board members?
Well, I just wanted to echo what Jeff was saying, that we did as a board approve a couple of instances this last winter where there was both a medical need and a bereavement need, and we kind of jumped in and approved those without necessarily having a policy in place around that. Again, I'm curious first to hear if Terry has any kind of light to shed on adjusting the policy in this direction, and what the finance committee thinks about it. Terry, do you have anything you want to add on this in terms of
I
if we
just
were
feel
to?
like the policy has changed at least 10 times in my time with the Shelburne Selectboard. I really don't have a lot to say. I know that when the policy was changed, there was a lot of thought and input from town council. There was input from other communities. And Jeff is absolutely right. Some towns pay whether you've worked it or not, but the true definition of overtime is for time worked. And we currently allow holidays. I think bereavement is another area that can't be helped and should be considered as time worked because we have no control over that. I don't know what's right and wrong anymore. It's just, I will go where the board goes.
Finance Committee, do you have thoughts on this? We're currently at an overtime over 40 hours worked, as Terry said, with holidays factored into that.
Factored in how, like, factored in as it counts as work time, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
What other time allowances are made for town employees? Terry made mention of bereavement. Is there a bereavement leave? Or just do employees get a certain amount of bereavement time?
Yeah.
Or is that just a, individual call?
No, it's in our policy. I believe it's 3 days for bereavement.
We also have family leave policy as well. I would think it would be fair to guess that this action that Jeff is asking for already happens in our other departments that don't have time clocks.
It would only be the police department, and I would want to check with Greg first before I made that assumption.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
The
Only the
police and the highway department are the two departments that are eligible for overtime. And I wouldn't want to make that assumption without talking to Greg. I believe Greg follows the policy.
I wouldn't be surprised either that he does as well. I just don't think it's a lot to ask. Terry,
don't think what is a lot to ask, Rick.
what Jeff is asking.
Oh,
Terry, you have a comment?
It's just more of a comment. I just think that I'm not opposed to anybody getting it, but there again, we got different policies for different departments. I think it's real important to have a policy that everybody abides by, number one. Number two, like Terry said earlier, we're redefining overtime. We're deviating from the federal law, the Fair Standard Labors Act. I think we need to figure out what we want to do, make it stick, and stop the back and forth. We're creating half of our own problems. Just pick something across the board for everybody and go with it.
Is there anything wrong with continuing just the way we're doing, where holidays are counted as time worked? And on the other ones, you treat it case by case basis and the select board makes a decision.
Which, as we said, we have done a couple of times in the past year or two.
Is there a reason to change what you've been doing?
It's only come up twice, as I say, in my 2+ years here. So I don't know that it is necessary that if a legitimate concern is brought forward by Jeff to the board, I think that's totally reasonable. And if it was, I think it's more sensitive there because of the unanticipated work schedule of Mother Nature's choices of what she does and when she does it. If someone takes time off on a Tuesday for a doctor's appointment, which, as you know, takes 6 months or more now just to get in to see somebody, and they hear a storm's coming Friday night and they're going to have to work Saturday, but they're not going to get overtime for it, I don't think that's right. And I think having the ability to have Jeff either ask for it or authorize him to approve it, but with notations to us that he's requesting that of us. I don't think it's a big leap. And I don't think it would be a big leap since it would have to mirror in the police department as well.
And so you're doing this for bereavement. Have you had a lot of cases where you approve sick time, somebody just happens to get sick? Is that gonna be a big issue, or is that something that Jeff could come to you with, like one of the employees is sick and we still want to forward on to their overtime? Have you approved those as well?
I don't,
I think we did have a medical issue. I don't know if it was sickness or doctor's appointment. I can't remember what it was, but we did
The
approve.
the medical issue was bereavement. One of them was bereavement. One of them was just it was a family emergency that needed to be addressed immediately, but it was tied into the same individual with the bereavement.
Okay.
We've yet to run into a problem yet with someone, becoming sick just from breaking down. But I'm just looking for clarification. Could I be the person, to make that happen as opposed to bothering you folks when, I mean, you got your plates a lot fuller than any of us department heads. So
I think it would still need to be called to our attention at the very least.
Yes, I agree. I've never been able to include vacation, sick time, or personal time in my 40 hours of all the jobs I've had. I'd be okay with bereavement, but
Yeah, I think that Jeff, what you're hearing from Rick and Rod is kind of where I'm coming down, at least for now. My concern, and again, I'm not impugning the integrity of any of the members of our highway staff or even suggesting that they might do this, but I know from workplaces I have been in that there's a pretty broad range of uh, sort of thinking and philosophy about how people approach sick time. And for some people, they never get sick. They never take a day off. They come in, they work sick. And other people are on the other end of the spectrum where they use sick time as a kind of extended vacation time. And so I think, again, without casting any aspersions on the staff, that's been my experience in the many workplaces that I have operated in and sort of seen and heard what people do with their sick time. So I think if we added sick time just as a general eligible category, it would put a lot of pressure on you as a manager to referee that thinking. And so in some ways, by keeping it more as a emergency basis, that you would come to the select board for, it kind of, you know, protects you from having to, you know, have those philosophical conversations with people. That's my thought.
okay. I mean, I like hearing everything, but I have to go back to that sick time stuff. It's all in the department head. If you have an employee that knows how to play the game, well, I know I can see it. I'm pretty good at seeing stuff. I can see it, and I call that person out. And I'm not. There's one person that knows how to play the game,
Mhm.
but it's up to the person that's in charge of him to straighten them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think we should leave it as is, that if there's a special circumstances that you feel should be brought to us, that you do, and we've proven that we're not insensitive and we acted accordingly. I think, Andrew, your comments, the only thing different in what you said is the scenario is a 40-hour work type situation, and theirs is not in the winter months, especially when they can be called out with no notice at all. Nights, weekends, Saturday, Sunday, doesn't matter. When the snow's coming down, you're going out. That's a lot different to what you did on Monday to go to a doctor's appointment or something. So I'm sensitive to both sides of this, but I think we've proven we held it, we dealt with it properly previously, and I think we will continue to do that, and I think we should leave it be.
okay,
And I would agree if people are, have a, serious medical situation during the winter months when they could be earning overtime, I don't want them to be, coming to work sick or missing doctor's appointments. So I think, for now, let's, bring those forward and if the board, at the next review decides that we want to, put the onus on that in your hands, to kind of adjudicate, we can take that next step if we get to that point. But, it sounds like we're not quite there yet.
Okay, I think we've settled that issue. We have one more before us we can bring up at this point with Jeff. You had received previously this slope issue, we'll call it, on a U-shaped section of Old Greenfield Road where all of the water from both sides of the road is shedding to the bottom of this dip in the road, going down over to on top of the culvert, and it's bringing
it's eroded. Riprap soils have gone down into that Great Brook section. If it continues to do that, there's a good possibility we're going to lose that chunk of the brand new road that was just put in. I went ahead, and I got one solid quote. I have one person that, declined to even go out and look at it. I've contacted JS Ray through their email service. I didn't get any word back from them. I believe Rod actually had discussions with JS Ray, and I don't believe he's got anything back. And I contacted Virgilio Construction, which they've done work in town before. And I'm waiting for a call back from them because they reached out and said they're having issues with something, so I'm just waiting on a call back for them. But I have an estimate. It falls under the threshold. And with that being said, with the reaching out and trying to get the estimates, it falls within the procurement laws where we could actually proceed with that estimate. The emergency WA has been filed with the Conservation Commission. It was signed today. And all I need to do is get approved for funding.
okay, and that's your Chapter 90 funds,
Yes.
$49,630, all states construction.
Yeah.
And do you need a vote or just a acknowledgement or?
I just need acknowledgement if you want me to proceed. I mean, I think we
Andrew,
should because it's going to cost more in the end if we lose that slope in that road.
Andrew, you're the liaison to the Highway Department. Your comment?
I'm in favor.
Todd?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor as well. Move forward on that. Jeff? Old business item D, I would like to jump to since Jeff is still with us. And this is,
Do you need the finance committee anymore? We have some other things on our agenda here.
I don't believe so. Terry, I think we're good with them.
No, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for attending. So Jeff, we discussed last week, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, the request from a resident on Old Greenfield Road to remove some guardrails. We looked at those and I think you showed me 4 different sections at least that were requested to be removed. The concern being that they are in the town buffer right away, whatever you want to call it, on the side. They were put in by a state verified engineer vendor of guardrails. They're not going to take them out and accept the liability. So this resident is now asking the town to take these out and accept the liability. In viewing those with Jeff, one section, at least a 25-foot drop, almost immediately behind the guardrail that was requested to be shortened or removed. There was another section that I think, Jeff, you used the word pinch point, where it's right on the point of a
Yeah,
that
that
was.
bottleneck right there when it wraps around the corner.
So I have a lot of problems with removing any of them. What I think we could do, I think one of the arguments was this person had a
Logging plan.
woodlot plan from years and years ago, hadn't been used in a decade maybe or more. But there is a plan that showed an access point where there wasn't previously guardrail. My thought would be that I would recommend we um, reject or refuse the request to remove guardrails, but suggest that this person request removal temporarily if and when logging needs to be done in that location, and um, view the matter at that point. But until then, taking on 4 sections of guardrails and accepting the liability is not something I want to put the town in the jeopardy of. Um, Rod, did you get a chance to go and look at that?
I did, and I'm the same thinking you are.
And
The only thing is if they did come out, should there be a time frame set, specific time from removal to reinstall?
I think if that day ever came that was requested, that would certainly be
That
prudent
would certainly, okay,
to nail it down then. But
yeah. Yeah, I'd hate to see it open for a month on end.
access there hadn't been used in an awful long time, and may not be for another awful long time. Who knows? So I think that's prudent way to approach it. Any thoughts on that, Andrew?
Just curious, because that seemed to be the one compelling argument made by this landowner was that they were being denied access to their woodlot. And my question for you, Jeff, is of these 4 points, it sounds like 2 of them that you've described don't really fall into that category of places where you would want heavy equipment trying to enter the property off a 25-foot drop or whatever, or a pinch point. Um, is there only really one access point that we're really talking about here?
Well, one of the spots was basically a removal and a cap. So you're capping both ends and this, where the section was removed, and it was basically access for the property owner to get off the road with their vehicle and be able to just go over the bank and do what they need to do. And then there was another section that was, I believe, midway, I think, was the access point, the logging access point. And then there was just a couple other end pieces where they felt that it was just a lot of guardrail and it would be safer while they're walking, at least will give them more room to get off the road. Where right now there's just a couple of spaces where the guardrail company removed and capped, but it's real narrow. You only got like a 24, 30-inch gap where you can get in that.
So the concerns are for pedestrian walkers and for woodlot access. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, I mean, as Rick said, you go over there and you look, and all it takes is one accident. And if that piece of rail's missing there and you go over 30 feet, who's liable?
Yeah.
If we take it off, I think I know the answer to that
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Right. The,
I
the,
would
the,
want-
the guardrail company did not, I struggled with them to do what they did. They didn't want to do that. But they said, for liability reasons, we do this all the time. We can't do it. We don't want the liability. And then they said, if you want it, then the town can sign off, which, the town doesn't want that. We have enough issues as it is. And we don't need to add another one.
Yeah, no,
It's,
I'm not in
it's just,
favor
it's a
of.
situation where I think it's new in a lot. And it's just different.
The standards for
I'm not in favor of removing guardrail if you've got a 30-foot drop behind it. I mean, that seems like a known hazard there that you would not be messing with. But I kind of like Rick's sort of take it as it goes solution. I think the challenge implementing wise will be just finding this set of minutes 10 or 15 years from now. That will be somebody else's problem to go back and reconstruct our thinking of how we were going to how we were going to deal with this. But
I'll have them here.
yeah.
I save everything. If, and where the guardrail's out for going in and out with a truck on the whole road, that's the worst possible section, is in my feeling.
Yeah. As I say, it's a U shape, but it's
It's a-
also horseshoe shape.
Yeah, you got two blind corners.
Yep. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if there is a future time when she wants to log the property that she can come forward and we're on record as saying we would accommodate her, to do that.
so I think all we need to do is have it reflected in the minutes that we are not willing to remove guardrail as requested, but the resident is welcome to request temporary removal if and when a logging access is required. Do we need that in a motion form, Terry?
Yes, please.
Can I consider that so moved?
So moved.
Sure.
And seconded?
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Andrew?
Aye.
Rod?
aye.
And I am aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Jeff. I think that's all the ones that we have.
Can I just say something real quick, Rick?
Yes, please.
I forgot to say earlier. I just want to let everyone know that the new hire, Seth Gerard, is doing wonderful. He's really made an impression on the senior guys, believe it or not. A big impression. And yeah, he's doing great.
Great.
Perfect.
Good news.
Do you have it, Jeff, do you want to stick around for the buildings and grounds item or not?
Well, that's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might as well.
All right.
Please.
All right, so we are at old business item B, which is building and grounds position. The person that we felt was a great hire or a potential hire. You may recall there was discussion about earnings limit for Social Security with the IRS and confusion. And last I heard, that was not resolved, and therefore the position has not been accepted to date. Is there anything beyond that, Terry?
Yes, I did receive an email from him this afternoon withdrawing his application, citing personal and extenuating circumstances.
There it is.
All right. Back to the drawing board then.
You know, we've had a rough time trying to fill that position. We've never actually had anybody in that position, despite having the job description for years. But do we try again? Do we put it out and advertise again, or?
Just years ago, we did have two people in the position and it didn't work out. My recommendation at this point is that if Jeff needs winter help part-time for shoveling, that's what we should be focusing on. Unless you have people lined up.
So that position was going to cover the shoveling that Jeff usually coordinates, right?
In hopes, we were hoping it was going to cover that. Well, I know we had Rick Grant was the one that used to do it, and he was great. But as you get older, it just wore down on him, and it got too much. I know there's a person that wants to, which he's even older than Mr. Grant. He's been helping me out this summer with weed whacking and stuff. I mean, we can offer it to him. It's going to be tough because he lives in Coleraine.
I think we should advertise, and if he wants it, he can apply.
Okay.
Well, Terry, instead of reposting the buildings and grounds position, might it make more sense to just address Jeff's need and post a more stripped down posting just for snow shoveling and,
That's exactly what I was suggesting. Yeah.
oh, good. Yeah. So I would support that idea and that, if we get lucky and we find somebody in that pipeline who has a broader skill set, we could, start to revisit the buildings and grounds position. But I think that is a prudent strategy at this point in the game to just cover the snow base.
I'm on board with that approach. And Rod,
I am as well.
consider it done. Move forward with that, please, Terry.
Do you need a motion, Terry?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Old business item C, Hill Cemetery, as Rod mentioned in his liaison report. Joe Judd has been away for a week. Just got back into the office today, so hopefully at our next meeting they'll be prepared to come in and deal with that. That's been on hold for probably a month now. So we can go on to new business. Sewer Commissioner's recommendation for hire, part-time clerk.
Yeah, you have your recommendation from the sewer commissioners and the materials from the applicant. We were very impressed and both Matt Larrabee and I would like to offer her the position.
Yeah, I just realized I skipped over item A, didn't I? Whole business, pocket
Well,
park.
that is item A.
That's item A in new business. I meant whole.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we did skip over, I think.
Yes, we skipped over that.
Yeah.
Let's stay on what we're at. Sewer Commissioner's recommendation for the part-time. Um, let's see, Heidi Wheeler Corona, position of sewer clerk, compensation 2314 per diem, average 8 hours of work expected. Nice letter from them and a nice resume. Any discussion or motion?
I have to recuse since I'm a sewer commissioner.
Rod?
I make a motion that we offer the job to Heidi Wheeler Corona for the sewer commission clerk.
I will second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Rod?
Aye.
And I am aye. Andrew?
I'll abstain.
So the motion passes 2-1-0. Or 2-0-1, sorry. That's it. Perfect. Back to my bad. Too many handwritten notes here. Old business, item A, pocket park. So yes, as our discussion from the previous minutes conversation, we sent back acceptance of portions of the revision to the original bid winner. Didn't sit well with them, should be an accurate statement, and withdrew, which leaves us now without anyone to pursue the work for the pocket park grading, pathways, etc. So the update, I believe, is that we are going to try to arrange discussions with some local contractors and see what we can pull together to get this done before snow flies, because we've got till December 30th, I think. Anything on top of that?
Terry and I have reached out to a local contractor, and the word back is that we will be in conversation this week, but I have not yet heard from them. I don't know if you have, Terry.
No, I have not.
Okay. So the week is still young, so hopefully we'll have a conversation and see where we go.
Terrific. Now back to new business. Item B, Upper Pioneer Valley Veteran Services District. This is the 2-year renewal extension of the intermunicipal agreement. It's in your packet. Rod is the liaison, but he's yet to have a meeting with that group. So I asked Rod earlier, and I will address this briefly. I did handle this in the previous 2 years as I served as their liaison. It's a routine situation where individual member towns must vote through their respective select boards to continue on as members of the district for the next 2 years. All the terms of the original intermunicipal agreement remain the same. Greenfield pays 56% of the district budget, and the remaining 44% is assessed to the other member towns. Let's see. So we need to make a decision, take a vote, and sign the document one way or the other and return it. Any discussion on this matter? Any questions? Any motion?
I'll move that we extend the intermunicipal agreement.
It'll be through July 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Rod?
Aye.
I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Parade permit, Moonlight Magic. You have that in front of you. Nothing different on this application than from last year that jumps out at me. Anyone else see anything?
No, just wanted to confirm with Terry that this is our standard operating procedure for Moonlight Magic.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then I move that we approve it.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the request or to approve a parade or street use permit for the Moonlight Magic. Looking for closing Bridge Street from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. on 11/28. Moved and seconded.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Rod?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Item D, new business. Floodwater Brewing, one-day wine and malt license for Oktoberfest. We may have had a liquor license for that last year. I don't recall it specifically.
Yes.
We did, yeah. They had a beer sort of enclosure there that you could serve and consume beer within.
It does fall on, or it is held on school property. And I don't recall, there's no insurance documentation required for that? Or is that,
No, they will have to provide that. Actually, it is in the packet. Let's see.
all I got,
Uh,
I just got one sheet. Maybe I missed part of the packet.
Yeah, they did provide, maybe, and they just gave it to me. I have their TIPS certification and their liquor liability policy.
Perfect,
It's Floodwater Brewing.
perfect. We have a motion, to approve the permit.
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion? Put the matter to a vote. All in favor, Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye. Aye.
and I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Any other business? We did have a late item come in from a Dan Bates.
Davis Bates.
Davis Bates, yes. Songs or stories for everyone. Looking for basically permission to use the Pocket Park not under the pavilion for an event on November 22nd. Apparently it's a benefit concert for something called the Art Garden, which I'd never heard of before, but there's apparently a benefit concert for the Art Garden at Memorial Hall on that date. So they want to do it on October 13th, which is Columbus Day weekend, a series of various plays. I think one was referenced as to the subject matter, and I don't see it here at the moment, but not
I think
really.
it's about climate change.
Oh, yes, yes. Yep, there it is. And we don't really have a mechanism for dealing with this. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I can't guarantee that the lot won't be under construction,
That's
but
my first thought. Yeah.
I remain hopeful.
I would hope it would be full of heavy equipment at that time frame. So if we did have a process and we gave it, it might not be able to be fulfilled anyway. Yet I don't think we're in a position to be um, saying, yes, you have our blessing, go ahead and use it on that day. But given the fact that we are we're at the mercy of whoever we can get to help us to pursue the work on the pocket park. It's certainly going to lead into that time, I would suspect. So I think we can't act on this myself.
I have a couple of thoughts and questions. One is, yeah, I think we should certainly advise Davis Bates that the lot may be taped off for no public access if it is indeed a construction site at that point. So he should be aware of that. And he had asked for a couple of suggestions for other places to possibly perform. I would say the band shell at BSC and the Baptist Green and the baseball field up by the Historical Society are all good open spaces where they could do that sort of thing if they got permission from the various stakeholders. I think only one of those is us. Or is the band shell even us, or is that the school?
Nope, that's ours.
Okay, so they could ask us about the band shell if they wanted to do that. Um, that would seem like a kind of an easy spot. Um, the place where I have a question is we have sort of had a little bit of discussion about future cultural uses of the park and have it. I think there was a general feeling on the board at that time. I think this was before your arrival, Rod, that the board did not want to get into kind of programming the park for concerts where admission is charged or other things like that. But my question with this, since it sounds like it's just a rehearsal um, in public and they're not charging admission, do they even need to ask our permission to go express their views in a public place, in a public park? I don't, that's just a question that I have.
I don't believe there's an answer to that because right now there's multiple people using it on actually a regular schedule in that vein.
Right. That's kind of why I'm raising
I
the question.
suggested as a courtesy that he at least let us know what's going on. At the time, I didn't know how many people he expected, if there's going to be a large gathering. And I wanted him to be aware that it may be under construction.
Right. Because my own personal take is if they're not charging admission, they're just expressing their views in public, and if it became a, traffic or safety hazard, if they had so many people that they needed, a police detail or something, that would be one scenario that we would have something to say about. But otherwise, if people want to talk about climate change in a public park, I'm not sure that they need our permission to do that.
I would agree. I think we should just advise him that we are not able to specifically approve his request and that there's three other options and list those and provide notification that the big rub is that it may be blocked off as a construction site in that time frame. So does he want to gamble that that won't happen and try and schedule it there? To me, it would seem prudent to try elsewhere, but
Yeah, I agree.
Rod, I agree with that approach.
I do, yes.
Terrific. Anyone else have anything other, any under any other business. Okay, I do. This is going to be a little uncomfortable. However, I just feel it needs to be dealt with this evening. It's regarding the CPC pre-application filing for the potholes deck. Andrew, I'm very upset with what you did about this. I learned about it that without the select board's approval, you submitted a pre-application for $50,000 to do an engineering study for replacing the potholes viewing deck with an estimated project cost of $200,000 to $300,000. You also listed the town administrator as the contact person without her or the board's approval. At last week's CPC meeting, it was assumed that the town, i.e. the select board, was making that request. As we all know, the select board did not deliberate nor vote on that matter. Only a brief mention of your decking idea was made by you, kind of slipped in as an aside under any other business discussion that wasn't on the agenda for discussion. I find it to be another last minute, take it upon yourself to act that's totally unacceptable. We're the highest elected town officials, and we're expected to act as a board. And when we act individually without the support or even the knowledge of the rest of the board, I think is insulting to us as well. Problems I have with this in particular request, no due diligence was done, like having our building inspector do an inspection and give us a report, or having our highway superintendent give it a look over and see what needs to be done. It's town-owned property. I've already had people tell me that any replacement should be put before the town voters as a capital expense, not trying to skim off taxpayer dollars from a CPC application, especially to the tune of $200,000 or $300,000. It was replaced during the recent development of the condos there. I will say a poor choice of deck boards. They're 1x4s, which is 3.5 inches, 2 screws in each of a 3.5 inch. They're all splitting. There's enough boards there that are a mess that, yeah, those deck boards need replacing. But they certainly need replacing with an appropriate, like standard 5/4 by 6 deck board. And the substructure would highly, in my opinion, be highly likely to be sound. I took a good hard screwdriver and in probably 50 places around that deck, jammed between the spacing in the deck boards to the joist, and I couldn't find a punky one, a soft one. I believe the understructure is probably fine, but there's a process we could go through without paying an engineer 50 grand to come and wave his magic wand over it to tell us, yeah, it's okay, and here's what you should do. But the biggest problem I have is that you went and did this without a vote of support from the board. So I'd like to ask you, Andrew, again, I'm trying to be polite and respectful. I know you take a lot of things on and you champion them forward. This is a last minute thing jammed in at deadline day without our support, without our deliberation, and it just is disturbing on how often that seems to happen. So I would like to ask you, Andrew, to agree to notify the CPC by Thursday of this week in writing and copy the town admin that you're withdrawing the pre-application for the deck replacement.
Well, thank you for bringing this up, and I apologize for not getting it onto the agenda. As usual, I apologize for the last minute nature of this. I think, if I might, I think if the board votes your proposal, Rick, then Terry can make that notification to the CPC. So that would be a motion that the board should make if that's a direction you want to go in. My thinking on this was based on the conversation that we had about eligible CPC projects and the discussion that we had about the deck. If I can share my thinking about how I see this going forward, the September 15th deadline, which kind of came upon us there, or came upon me in the midst of a lot of other things, um, to me is just a small speed bump in the overall process. It's really just they've designed a pre-application process to determine eligibility and then say to proposers, yes or no, go forward and submit an application in November. So my thinking was, let's just get this over the threshold so that it can become part of the conversation, and that we have 2 months to decide whether this is a project we want to propose or not. So I didn't feel like I was, leaping way ahead of you all in that, but merely just um, in the same spirit that we make a motion so that discussion can happen and then a vote can take place. That's our normal process of decision making on the select board. That's kind of the spirit in which I was taking this forward, was making a motion, opening up the possibility of discussion, and then, making a decision. So if the decision is that, hiring an engineer is a great boondoggle, we don't need to go forward with the proposal. But if the thinking after you've heard what work I have done on this process, um, it makes sense to you, then maybe it does make sense to get an engineering design for the project. I think I have some questions still about sort of order of operations, but and just to address one of your points about should this be voted on by the town residents, of course it should. And that's how the CPC process works.
Not
If
as a capital expense,
It's essentially the same thing, though, Rick, is that it goes to the voters at town meeting to say, should we fund this?
where they would know that that impact would be an increase to the tax rate, where the other money you're asking for, they've already got. And so there's a pile of money available to do good things for the town. I'm not saying doing that job is not a good thing for the town, but the difference of the town meeting capital expense is, okay, do we really want it that bad? But one of your
Now,
points,
that's the process that we use when we decide. The only difference in my mind about voting a capital project versus voting a CPC project is if the answer is yes, we get half of it paid for by the state, as opposed to paying 100% of it ourselves. So, but the decision-making process is the same. Does this, because we're still on the hook for half of it, so why would we vote yes for a project that we don't think is worth doing? That's what the voters have to consider when they come to town meeting. But the last thing I want to say about it is that I agree with you that I don't think the deck needs to be replaced this year. And I don't think it needs to be replaced probably for 10 years. But I see this, and the reason that I went the route of proposing an engineering design was after consulting with a contractor who was, full disclosure, is Renaissance Builders, the company that we hired to renovate the theater upstairs in Town Hall. And he was kind enough to go down and look under the deck with me and and take a look at the steel and the pressure treated wood and the deck itself, and give me a sort of ballpark number to work with. But that was his recommendation, was that we get an engineering design for the project before going any farther. In part because of the condition of the steel that we saw underneath, which has a fair amount of rust on it. And so, but my general thinking about it was if this is a project that we want to think about in town capital project thinking, that we should be looking at it as about a 10-year process where if this gets approved by the CPC, they would then be kind of putting themselves on the hook to maybe chunk away $20,000 a year toward this project so that we would have a couple of $100,000 10 years from now when the deck really needs to be replaced. Because, his Terry's or his is Stephen Greenwald is the head of Renaissance Builders. I asked him what he thought about this deck that we put in place. I think it was 1996, maybe. That which makes it almost 30 years old. And he said those pressure treated constructions back then were rated for somewhere around 40 years or so. So we probably got another 10 years of life left in that deck, but it's starting to show its age. It needs to be screwed down in places. And as you mentioned, there was some other construction work done during the condo building that wasn't up to the same grade. And so there's repair work that will be needed to be done, but my general thinking and my recommendation to both you and the CPC is to now that we have a CPC and we have that we should be thinking about that not just as a sort of nice little pot of gold under the rainbow that we can offer to the residents to say, bring us your good ideas in these four categories. But we should, as a town, be looking strategically at eligible projects that we do anyway, or that we are responsible for, and saying, can we get a 50% discount on this if we put them forward, and put them in the hopper. I've said that to Joe in terms of the Hill Cemetery, in terms of his requests for record preservation money. Those are all eligible projects that we can get a discount for if we propose them as CPC projects. So that's the thinking in which I approached this. Not that I was trying to do a end around on you and Rod and or a fait accompli, but merely to say, let's get over this little speed bump on September 15th so that we can have a conversation.
Okay, well, the CPC did accept it and put it forward for a full proposal.
Okay, that was fast.
Because they reviewed them all and have decided on all the applications, and ours was put forward because they thought we as a board put it forward. That's upsetting to me. Andrew,
but why is that upsetting to you? It's just starting the conversation.
no, it's not. It's part of how you do things, it seems.
I just don't get that, Rick. We can vote at any time between now and November to not go forward with that project.
Let me just tell you what I saw. I don't think we had 10 years to deal with that deck. That current deck board, those deck boards are a mess. They're the wrong size, never should have been put in the first place. They're split. Some of them are spongy. The screw heads, I'm telling you, there's at least 100 screw heads popped up that I don't know why somebody hasn't already taken off a toenail or tripped over and sued the town for. I think we do need to move forward and get the decking replaced because, as you already said, we got 10 years more underneath there. Let's just rip off those foolish boards, put down a decent pressure treated actual deck board and make it safe again. Or we're going to have somebody from the highway department live down there. I mean, go take a good serious look at it, which I know I've done. I would trust Rod's done. That deck can't wait 10 years. So we're kicking a $50,000 engineering review can down the road for the potential of a complete replacement. And I think it needs more immediate maintenance.
Well, Rick, what you said was my initial thought when I went into this project. Then I took Stephen Greenwald down the overgrown steps and looked underneath the building. And when he saw there's a lot of steel support structure under there, he agreed with you that the pressure treated understructure, from what he could see, and we didn't obviously look at it in exhaustive detail, but from what he could see, he thought the pressure treated structure was good. But he felt like that he was not the expert to opine about the steel supports underneath, which have a fair amount of rust on them. And that was where we got into a conversation about the river and an engineer and what it would take to actually, grind down and repaint those if they can be left in place, or replace them if they're determined to be actually structurally not as sound as they should be. So it wasn't the replacing of the deck was kind of the simple part. It was how do you deal with that? How do you both evaluate and then deal with the steel support structure underneath it? And that's where you get into the whole, you're right next to the river. You've either got to shroud the whole thing like they did with the Iron Bridge, or you've got to remove those steel supports and refurbish them off-site in a shop and then put them back in, so that you can avoid all the environmental protection, which would be quite expensive if you tried to refurbish them in place. So there's more to it there, Rick, than just pounding down some new pressure treated deck on that wood there.
In the big picture, there may be, but as you said, he gave it like a 10-minute look and said, we ought to start with an engineer. I would want to go through a process where we had a whole bunch of experienced contractors come in, look at it, give us some opinions, and deal with that going forward. Right now, keep the eye on the ball, in my opinion, and deal with what is of definite hazard right now. And something that I don't think the highway department could be asked to keep up with, trying to keep I mean, I'm talking hundreds of screws that are up a good
Mhm.
2.5 inch. Crazy. So that on top of the application's in, we can't alter it. So we either move the application forward as you presented it, or we bag it. And I would prefer, and don't get me wrong, Steve Greenwald is great. I contracted with him to frame my house 20 years ago with Renaissance. So I know the quality of work they do and what he knows as well, and I respect it. I think that moving forward on a $50,000 engineering on a 10-minute look like that with a thought process may be prudent long term, but we've got a bigger fish to fry, in my opinion, in replacing the deck boards now. And we can't, the deadline's passed. You put in a pre-app, they've approved moving forward with it. So at this point, I will make a motion that a letter from the select board be sent to the CPC notifying them as follows: that the deck project pre-application is not from the town select board, that the town admin is not the contact person, and that the select board never deliberated nor voted on this application, and therefore we respectfully request that the CPC reject the application as invalid. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Rod, would you like to weigh in?
I pretty much agree with everything that you said, that the protocol wasn't followed, and I'm a firm believer in there's a system set up and we should follow it.
Any further comment, Andrew?
No.
I'll put the matter to a vote. And Rod,
Aye.
Andrew,
Nay.
And I am aye. Motion passes 2-1-0. Okay, thank you for a good evening. Our next meeting is October 6th. Is there any correspondence, Terry?
None.
Terrific. Public comment, we have no one public. We'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second. Motion moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Rod?
Aye.
Am I? Andrew?
Yep.
There we go. Thanks, everybody.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.